Hello, Thrifty Food Plan Channel friends. It's Jay. It is time for me to make my second batch dinner. And what was on the meal plan was a lentil curry with rice. And I don't want rice. I ate a lot of pasta the last 4 nights. So what I'm gonna do instead is I'm gonna use some things I already have in my baking pantry, and I'm going to make a flatbread. It's gonna be kind of like roti, except that I don't have atta flour, which is what you typically make roti with. So I'm gonna use like 3/4 cup of whole wheat flour and a 1/4 cup of regular flour, and we're gonna figure it out. So let's get to it. So just for context, I am transitioning from shopping every week to shopping every 10 days. And so this meal is part of a meal plan I created based off of my last 10-day food haul, which I will link above and below. That food haul included a little bit of stockpiling for things that I will use for a whole month, or at least across the month, not just for the 10-day period that I'm in. Okay, friends, so this is literally the easiest recipe in the world. Easiest recipe in the world. So I've got a little bit of whole wheat flour from my baking pantry. Now there is not a lot in here, so I suspect I'm going to use all of my whole wheat flour up for this, which means I will need to look for a sale. So this is a 1/4 cup scoop, 1/4 cup. Oof, okay. I may only have a 1/2 cup. Let's see. So that's probably about a 1/2 cup. See, I'm telling y'all, bare bones. It's the end of my whole wheat flour. So I'm thinking that's probably like a 1/2 cup of whole wheat flour. And to that, I'm gonna add about a 1/4 cup of regular flour, just all-purpose flour. And I'm gonna scoop some additional all-purpose flour out for kneading and such later. All right, I didn't bring a fork out, so I'm just gonna use the bottom of this to blend everything together a little bit. Excuse me. Y'all notice I'm wearing a t-shirt. I'm not wearing a coat or a sweatshirt in the house. It's May, and it's finally 70 degrees today. All right, so this is a cup of water. There's no way I'm going to use all of it, but I'm gonna slowly add water into this. It starts to kind of clump up. I'm just looking to see if I can get it to be like a little doughy. A little doughy. It's starting to get there. All right, this is looking about right here. Okay, so see the texture it is right now? It's looking about right. Now I'm gonna put some flour on my hands here because it's gonna be very sticky. I'm just trying to get all of the flour in the pot into this. I definitely wish I had a little more whole wheat flour because it's the secret ingredient here. All right, so, you know, I used warm water. It just makes it easier to work with. Definitely Wish I had more whole wheat flour because this is going to be more like naan than roti, but that's all right. Okay, so if you can see, I've got like a little ball of dough forming in there. I'm just adding some more flour to it until it's not so sticky, and that'll give it the right consistency. It's not really like a full-on knead, but like you're not fully kneading, but it's a little like that. All right, this is looking about right. So what I'm gonna do now, So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna get a paper towel, I'm gonna moisten it, and then I'm gonna lay it over the top, and I'm gonna let this sit for 15-20 minutes while I get the rest of the stuff out and ready for dinner. And I'm gonna wash my hands. I am gonna go ahead and prep what I need to make my lentil curry. So these are all the ingredients. Couple tablespoons of curry powder here. I'm not sure that I will end up using all of it, but I've got it if I need it. I've got the other half of my bag of lentils, the can of petite diced tomatoes, and a can of coconut milk. I'm going to chop up half of this yellow onion and half of this sweet potato, which I'm also gonna skin. Okay, so those are my ingredients, and I gotta do some peeling and chopping. All right, I've got half of that yellow onion chopped, half of the sweet potato chopped. Here's my other half of onion, my other half of sweet potato. I will probably chop that up and just toast it up and in the air fryer tomorrow. And then I can use it for salads or other things, but we'll see. So that's all the chopping prep that is required for the lentil curry. Okay, party people. So taking off my little moist paper towel. I'm going to try to get this dough out. Okay, so it's kind of sticky again. So I am gonna roll it in a little extra flour that I've got out on my baking mat here, my bread mat. And just gonna knead it a couple more times. Now, I've got my cast iron skillet preheating on like medium heat. The other thing I would say is that you should open a window or something, because making this does make smoke happen. If it all works, you'll see what I mean. Okay. So I do season my cast iron skillet with a little bit of oil after I wash it, but other than that, you know, no meat products in my cast iron skillet. I just find that it works better for this. Okay. So I've got my little ball of dough here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut it into 4 pieces. You can use a regular knife if you don't have one of these fancy things. My mother gave me this fancy thing. All right. So I'm gonna put a little more what's that called? Flour out. Okay. I'm gonna kind of knead it into a little ball here. See? And then I am gonna use a rolling pin. I don't think this is traditional. I don't think it's traditional, but I'm going to do it. Oh, I need to flour my rolling pin. I know better than this. So flour your rolling pin. Do all the things. All right, we're just gonna try to roll this out. Okay, I can smell my cast iron skillet now, so I know that it's okay. So it's pretty thin. You see how thin that is? I'm gonna try to pat it just to get any extra flour off that I can, and then I'm gonna drop it in the cast iron skillet. Repeat. Okay, I think this pan may actually need to be a little hotter. Okay, so I've turned it up to like 6. Okay, so this stuff is really hot, so I'm using tongs. And then I'll do a couple seconds on the other side. And then I have a gas stove, so I do an extra step. Which I'm not sure you're going to be able to see. So I have a gas stove, so I do an extra step. I have turned the burner on. This is just an extra step. You don't have to, okay? But I take it over here and just set it down, and this makes it puff up. It's also the moment at which you are going to get some smoke probably, but it helps the bread kind of puff up a little bit. You don't have a gas stove, just keep doing it in the skillet. Okay. It's making it puff up, which is what we want. It's smoking a little bit. All right, but you can see how it's puffed a little bit. That's exactly what we want. All right, I'm just gonna set it over here. Now, if you're not vegan, definitely put some butter on that sucker. It'll make it taste better. I'm gonna repeat with my other 3. All right, I have myself 4 little pieces of flatbread, which will be enough to have 1 piece of flatbread with dinner each of the next 4 nights. I've got some cleaning up to do before I start making the lentil curry. I did want to point out, I had the vegetable oil out because sometimes I'll add like a teaspoon of vegetable oil. But tonight, like the dough just didn't feel like it needed it. Sometimes you just put it on top of the dough and kind of massage it into the dough before you cook it. It didn't feel like it needed it tonight. Also, Melissa in my last meal prep video told me that I could regrow romaine. So the regrow romaine has joined my trying to regrow my green onions for a 3rd time. Anyway, so if your dough feels really, really dry, add a little bit of vegetable oil, but just a tiny bit. And if you're not vegan, you can add a little bit of melted butter. All right, I'm gonna get all this cleaned up and then I will start on the lentil curry, but I am so excited about this flatbread. Yummy, yummy. All right, as per usual, I'm gonna saute vegetables in water. If you do oil, put a little oil in here, but I don't do oil. So to get my lentil curry started, I am going to put the chopped onions in here, and I'm gonna go ahead and put the chopped sweet potatoes in here. I'm going to saute this and let it get a little saucy. Okay, just for a couple minutes. And then I'm gonna add my spices. All right, so it's cooked down a little bit and I am adding some curry powder, $2 at the Walmart. I'm gonna add in about 3 tablespoons. Now, I like mine with a lot of flavor, so if you like yours with less flavor, use less of the spice. All right, and then I'm just gonna coat the vegetables in this pan with the curry powder and let it get a little saucy, by which I mean fragrant. So you're just gonna scooch it around for a couple minutes, not a couple minutes, like 30 seconds to a minute, and kind of let those seasonings really get saucy. Smells good. All right. All right. And then use my nail, but I will. All right. And then I'm going to add in, this is the petite diced tomatoes. So I'm going to add my tomatoes in. Okay, that's still smelling pretty good, like it's got enough spice in it, okay? Now the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add in the lentils and probably 2.5 cups of water. So this is a half a bag of lentils. First batch of lentils went to make the pasta from the first meal prep. Okay. Get the lentils in now. I didn't rinse those. You can rinse them if you're a purist. I don't see any rocks. I think they're fine. All right, so I need about 2.5 cups of water. Okay. All right, it's still smelling spicy enough for me. Okay, so I'm gonna put this lid on. I'm gonna check on it in about 10-15 minutes, see if it needs any extra water, okay? All right, so it's been stewing for about 20 minutes and the lentils are a little al dente, which is how I like them, but you can keep cooking them and make them softer if that's how you like them. I want to talk about the can of coconut milk, okay? To me, it is what makes the meal, but if you do not like coconut milk, you do not have to use it. I would recommend you add like a tablespoon of oil, or if you eat animal products, a tablespoon of butter, just to give it a little bit of a silky mouthfeel. Like I would recommend that. But as a mostly whole food plant-based vegan who loves coconut milk, I'm going to use coconut milk. That said, you do not need an entire can of coconut milk to make this. So I've put a little less than a cup in here, and I am going to freeze the rest. That's another just under a cup, okay? I'm gonna freeze the rest because you don't need a whole can of coconut milk for this recipe. So I'm just gonna stir the coconut milk in. Let me get every drop out because I think it's so delicious. And I'm gonna mix it in. And I'm gonna let it stew for maybe another 5 minutes just to mix in the flavors of that coconut milk. And then we are gonna serve it out and have some dinner, which is a good thing because I am starving. All right, once again, it's time to proportion everything out so that I can get 4 dinners out of this. And just in case I have more than enough for 4 dinners, I've got a baggie that I can freeze in. So I am using, once again, my gift from my mother years ago, half a cup scoop. There's a lot of juice in here, so, ooh, that pan's hot still. So this is gonna be about 1.5 cups, pan's hot, 1.5 cups serving. And then let's see how many leftovers I have that I can use in a later week. So 1, just a little bit of juice left. All right, so this is enough for another dinner in here, which I can freeze, maybe 2 dinners. I can freeze and have it in a different week. And don't forget, with these, I'm gonna be having a piece of flatbread every night, which is delicious. And just kind of, I'm gonna eat the smallest one tonight because I'm one of those delayed gratification people. With the flatbread, I store them in the fridge and just all wrapped together in some foil. And then to reheat them, if I have access to a stove, I just put them in the stove on the rack, let it reheat, you know, at 275 for like 5 minutes, something like that. Or I just let them come to room temperature. Now remember, if you don't want to go through the hassle of making the flatbread, just serve this over rice and it will be perfectly good. All right, here is my big, beautiful dinner. 1.5 cups of lentil curry with some homemade flatbread. I've got salt, pepper, and a little crushed pepper for extra spice for me, with a little bit of lemon water. That's dinner. Yummy, yummy. All right, let's talk about cost. So the roti, I used 1/2 cup of whole wheat flour and 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour in the dough itself. And then I used another 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour, to powder my surfaces, add a little bit more flour in when it was super sticky, that sort of thing. And so I priced everything out based off of the current prices for whole wheat flour and all-purpose flour at my Kroger equivalent. And based on all of that, it cost 19 cents to make that roti. I got 4 pieces of roti out of it, so that's 5 cents per piece of roti. Not bad at all. So for the lentil curry, I used 1/2 a sweet potato, 1/2 a bag of lentils, 1/2 of an onion, 1/2 a can of coconut milk, and a whole can of diced tomatoes, all included in my last 10-day grocery haul from Walmart. And the total for that for 4 servings was $3.41. Per serving cost 85 cents. So the total cost to make this batch of lentil curry with roti, which really rendered me 4 dinner servings, plus I had an extra serving of the lentil curry that I'm freezing. Total cost to make it all was $3.60 or 90 cents per 4 servings. Plus I got some extra in the freezer. I also did use 3 tablespoons of curry powder in the lentil curry. You can use less or more depending on your palate. The cheapest place I have found lentil curry is at Walmart. It's $2 a bottle. I bought a bottle eons ago, so it's not included in the pricing here. But I just wanted to flag for you that that was a pantry ingredient that I used in the lentil curry, and you want to be sure that you actually add the curry powder. Another thing I would say is with this lentil curry, you can put whatever like toppings you have on the lentil curry. It's great with some fresh cilantro on top. When I reheat my leftovers, I'll probably add a squeeze of lemon just to brighten the leftovers a little bit.
Also could put some chopped green onions on top. So, and also if you have like plant-based yogurt, or if you eat animal products, if you've got some plain, no flavor yogurt, put a dollop of yogurt on top. Delicious. And you don't need all those things. You can eat it just the way it is. Just be sure you do use sort of the curry powder, which is not included in the pricing here because that was a pantry item. So I had lentil curry for dinner tonight. I'm going to have it for dinner for 3 more nights, and then I get to mix up sort of what I am eating for dinner for the last 2 nights of my 10-day meal plan. Be on the lookout for that video in the coming days. Thanks so much for visiting the Thrifty Food Plan channel, and I will see you soon.